We're at the Crowley Nature Center, and what is this anyway? We're in a old-fashioned barn?
We're in a mold factory.
A mold. Oh, great.
No,
Paranoia can set in.
No, we're in a pioneer museum because this creature factory.
Creature factory.
No, this is the Crowley Nature Center, which is out east of where I live, which is considered the boondocks or the country or whatever you want to call it. And this is showing a lot of the stuff that was from the early 1800s.
Yeah, we're in it's like their own little museum. What year was the Crowley Nature? When did people actually live here? Because there's so many artifacts here going back, and I'm always curious, what year?
I don't know.
You're my guy. You're my guidance.
The 1800s, late 1800s is when they actually bought this property.
Because look, if you don't get a reflection through the glass, you can see. You got razor blades.
Some old stuff out here.
Which I'm always fascinated by. That this is how they, which isn't
it looks like
too far fetched from what we have now. And so, oh, there's some dentures.
It looks very painful.
A pipe? Yes, it looks like
when you look at razors, they look very painful.
Yeah, a lot of nicks.
Because it's a single blade, and it's probably was not much better than the other kind of stuff.
See some dentures?
A lot of spectacles.
Dentures over here. Yeah, right there.
Do you ever remember have you ever seen Austin Powers where he says spectacles, testicles, wallet, and watch?
I saw it, but I don't remember it.
Why that sticks in my head, I don't know. But look at these bullets over here.
But this is great because you got old letters and looks like bookkeeping down here and some certification
old parchment.
there.
Yeah, old parchment. Some bullets. People had to make their own bullets back in the yonder days.
But here's a letter. It looks like May 24th. I think it's 1915, 1918. It's hard to see through the glass. It's to, Dear Sir, Mr. Sharp has sent to us your letter to him of May 20th. He thinks it should be a good idea to sow the beggar weed seed.
This is kind of set up a little bit like a store where they got all the old-fashioned like canneries and stuff.
Well, look at this. See the phone? Green Acres. Remember Green Acres?
It's like one of the shows that you think of as like an icon show because we didn't really watch at our age. We didn't really watch stuff from the 40s or like 30s. Not like I was watching black and white.
Yes, that's true. But Green Acres was, what was it? Not Zsa Gabor. It was Eva Gabor.
Ava.
Zsa's sister. She was great.
You know, I heard something about oil lamps where you wanted to get whale oil because it had less fumes. So if you had regular kerosene, it would stink up the whole house with kerosene smell. So if you paid extra money, you got whale oil. It didn't have the ash, whatever you call it, the smoke. Check out the faces on these kids right here. Yeah. They look super excited to be having their picture taken. I don't know if that's like an actual photo or...
It's probably in the middle of summer. They're hot. They're wondering why they weren't born like 70 years later.
Look at the small one right there in the middle. Look at her face.
They're not happy.
Total misery.
I bet you they're twins.
I always try to picture what was going on when the picture was taken because of the sour faces of these children.
I do too. What was going on in the world around them?
No. Specifically at that moment, was there a and this is layman's. This is me spouting, but
no. I hear you.
When there was a photographer there, it usually wasn't a home camera. It was a guy who was a professional photographer.
And that's what he got?
Yeah.
He didn't say smile?
Well, we didn't have little 35 Instamatics back in the day. It was a big giant box camera on a big tripod, and they had to pull the cap off of the front of the lens and expose it, and then put the cap back on the lens. You know what I mean?
Okay, but what about cheese, smile, something?
Yeah, but that's
Say
what I'm saying.
cheese?
Well, have you got any pictures of your old relatives from back in the day, and they all look sour-faced, or they're just miserable, like from the early 1900s?
Yeah.
And they just,
You're right, yeah.
There was no smiling involved. It was like,
maybe they weren't allowed then?
don't you smile.
We weren't a communistic country at that time.
We were so oppressed that my relatives were in Pennsylvania, and the pictures from the 1800s is nobody's smiling. It's just, we don't do that here. This guy, This guy looks like he's going to shoot the photographer if he takes another picture of that guy back there in the back.
And the other one has it looks like a hacksaw or something in his hand.
He's like, if you guys take a picture of me again, we will shoot you. Because from what I've read, people walk around with guns all the time, you know. If you were out in the middle of the wilderness, you know, and there's a coyote or something, you had a gun.
Second Amendment.
You had a gun. Or you had like a one on the holster. I mean, like literally like the Wild West in Florida.
I would never have made it. I'm not a gun guy. I can't.
I'd have never made it.
No.
And here, point.
Point well taken.
Point, look at this guy.
Yeah.
He looks like, I didn't give you permission to take my picture.
That's don't fuck with me. That's what.
What'd you say?
Don't fuck with me.
Oh, don't fuck with me.
Don't
It says something Pride Cracker at the bottom, and then it has this old guy who's really pissed. There's some kind of bird
Yeah. Okay.
making noise.
And here it looks like roosters.
It's definitely not chickens. Chicken then, because they're really like round.
Roosters?
These chickens are like really round with very small necks and heads. Like they just don't look like your prototypical chicken.
No, but look at they have the rooster tops there. It looks like.
Yeah. There must be a certain kind of breed of chicken. Are they like some kind of prehistoric? Look at the head on this guy. Very odd looking. They look like a cartoon character with really small heads. That's like the oddest chicken I've ever seen in my life. It's like some it's like an experiment went bad, and this is what they ended up with.
Animals, fish. It's all freaky to me.
This is one of the pioneer cabins. This is like a smaller one, which is very dark because we don't have lights and electricity in pioneer cabins. As you can see,
Good.
yeah, it's set up just like they would be living in here, and it's very tiny. This is like maybe two bedrooms.
There's a picture again. Nobody's smiling.
Everybody
They're
is.
dressed up though. Now here's a couple of things. First of all, where's the TV?
Do you think they're saying don't come to Florida?
Where's the TV? Here's when you look at pictures like that, and let's guess it's early 1900s, late 1800s. Who cuts their hair? What did they use? Did they have
Moms.
scissors that cut it? How did they become stylists? How did they learn to cut hair back then?
I think it was all self-contained community.
Who taught how to cut hair?
Did everybody sleep in the same bed, maybe? Possibly? Like it just piled in if we had...
I certainly hope
kids.
not. But there's a dining room
I
table.
certainly hope not. You know, it's like for the lack of technology that they have here, they have like the really nice sewing machine though. So
Nice,
those,
nice.
I don't know if that was actually available or not, but it was like the one that you use your foot. And I don't know why they always put the dress forms in there, because I guess they were making their own clothes, so they had to have that. They had to have a dress form because you couldn't go to the store and buy them around here because there was no stores.
Well, once again, the level of the way life works back then, before my time, I have no idea. If you notice, this house is built upwards.
Yeah.
Just to make sure there's no flooding in this area.
I think it has a lot to do with it. Do you think part of it is to keep the house cool? Because then you got a breeze into the bottom. It sort of helped cool the house.
Again, your questions are way above my pay level.
You're not a pioneer expert?
No, I am not. But I'm, again, fascinated by history, seeing this and trying to understand what people were doing in their time of life. Killing animals for food.
Yeah, raising chickens that are really weird
Yeah.
looking.
Teach their kids.
Odd looking children, odd looking chickens.
Teach their kids themselves. Were they homeschooled? Did they have little...
I don't think they had a choice when people first started coming here. There was just no infrastructure. I think, say Civil War era, there was no infrastructure as far as there weren't schools, there weren't grocery stores, there weren't.
Did they have books? Where they get the books from? Where they read? Where they learn?
Yeah, I'm thinking that it's like a guy bought this property. He buys things that he can
Buy things?
Yeah, he buys things that he can have a small sawmill so they can build houses. He has a blacksmith shop so he can help people with his own horses and shoe the horses and all that stuff, fix wagons, because no stores. So this is the kind of stuff we'd be working with. This is the stuff we had to repair it probably on a weekly basis, is all your farming equipment and stuff like this. I'm sure this is some kind of I can't think of what that's called.
Whore?
Something to till the
What do
soil.
they call them? Whores? hose, not whores, but hose, and not hose.
Yeah, like a hoe,
whores.
like you would till up
But
the
they hoe
soil
it,
and
yeah.
get ready. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
for
if something
planting
and if something broke and you or a blacksmith, you could fix it yourself. You could go in there and make.
Again, this is why I would never survive very long back then, because I can't do anything.
I can't do anything.
I'd have to marry the same woman I married now who can do everything for me.
We're headed over to the Tatum House, which is this place on the left over here. And it's raining, so we're doing umbrella.
Do we know who Tatum is?
It was a guy.
Okay.
I think it has a plaque it talks about. Tatum was one of the families. I always like to call them founding families because they were probably one of the first families that started out here. And Tatum Ridge is named after probably the same guy, the family, and all that.
I played the golf course, which is a little bit west
Tatum
of
Ridge
here.
golf course, right?
Many times. But if you're looking for a history lesson today, this might not be
This is not the place you want to be. Well, I told this story before. My grandfather had used one of these because he was very old and stuff. This thing, are you getting a shot of this?
Yes.
So your laundry comes out of the wash wet, and then you roll it to squeeze out the excess water through the rollers right here. Well, apparently, I don't know if it was electric. He stuck his finger in, and it pulled it off.
Oh,
so he lost the whole index finger. So I don't know if it was way back. My grandfather was born in 1891, so I don't know if it was way back in the day. But he was missing this one. But he was actually a painter and a piano player, and he did very well with the remaining 9 fingers. It never seemed to bother him. But we always wondered, and he told me that's what happened. It was one of these presses. And in the 70s, he actually had a washing machine with the electric press, and he was still using that, which seems kind of ironic, because if you rip your finger off, why would you want to be using it?
Yeah, it's just... I always find these things, all this stuff, kind of spooky to me. Because,
Like, this is spooky?
Well, yeah. How old is this? I know we had Hurricane Irma pass by here, so they've done some fixing up here. They're at 1889.
I'm not sure if this is the address or the year, but I read that the property was bought in
1999.
1887, so maybe they left
Or
one of the original boards.
1889, 10 years later.
I think this place, the outside was redone, the boards, but I think the structure of this is the original structure.
But if you go back, give or take, 120 years, which what it looks like when these were originally built, what was going on in here? They're making bread.
Flapjacks.
Got the nice little oven there.
But you're saying you're spooked out by this now?
Yeah, it kind of weirds me out because I always think what was going on during that time. I mean, we're talking about a long time ago.
So I guess this is the homeschooling center.
We weren't flying cross country. We weren't flying to other cities. We weren't driving,
True, we were taking boats everywhere.
or a horse and carriage.
Yeah, there's the loom again. The gigantic loom, which is basically the size of a bed, like a canopy bed. This
That's
loom
big.
thing on the
Huge.
right over there. Yeah,
And look at the bed. I mean, you sleep on that, you have to have a bad back. There's no
It's
possibility.
required. It's a requirement.
Oh my God.
I slept on one that was down, just pure down. There was no springs
On
or
the
nothing.
floor?
No, it was like that. It was in Nicaragua. Yeah, it felt like sand. It felt like somebody just put sand into a blanket, and then that was what you were sitting on, because it just did not have any forgiving qualities.
This is why I can't be a nature guy who sleeps out in the wilderness, because I need a bed. I need a shower. Hello there.
How y'all doing?
We're good.
Is it electrified?
Yeah, so this is what would be like the main room, I guess, where you'd entertain people or something, or just weave your cotton fabrics, I guess, and sit by the fire and eat your dinner, because they only have the bedroom.
They have an upstairs here too.
Yeah, and this
We
one,
can't go up there.
I think they had an upstairs bedroom too, which basically looks like somebody's attic.
Yep.
Essentially, just real bare bones, no insulation whatsoever.
The summers here must have been so brutal.
That's what I think, man. Can you imagine it being 98 degrees and then you just had to sit here and just sweat all day long?
I couldn't sleep.
So it looks to me like these windows are maybe original, because you can sort of see that they're not flat, or they have like depressions in them. I don't know if you can see that as I move the camera.
I could feel it when
It's uneven. Like yeah, it's an uneven
wave.
quality, and like if they put a new pane, you'll be able to see like how the new panes look.
Unless they purposely did them like this.
I don't know if you could buy glass like that now.
I'm sure they can.
But I mean, they might have taken the window apart and rebuilt it, but it looks like sort of the old kind of, the old tiny glass. So we were just sort of going over the difference between entertainment, say late 1800s, and
There was no entertainment.
there was a lack.
The entertainment was mowing
Mowing
the grass with a hand-pushed non-electric gas motor.
That was the highlight.
You made everything yourself. You made your own clothes, it seems like, as we have seen throughout this little tour here. Just a world that we can't even comprehend. I'm nearly 60 years old, so I grew up, in the late 50s, early 60s. And my kids, when they think about that I had to watch in black and white, there was no Nintendo or anything like that. And to me, it was a normal life because I didn't know better. Then color TV came into existence. Then I don't remember. Well, it was what was the first games? Pac-Man and stuff like that.
Yeah. Atari.
Atari. That's it.
Atari was not all that great. It was something.
But for us, it was amazing.
It was something to do, but it wasn't fantastic like it is these days.
And you just think now we're 2018. What's going to happen in another 10 years? The advancements. How much more can we go? Where the whole thing. Will we ever fly like the Jetsons? Will we have cars fly around?
I was thinking
do,
the
where
same
are the
thing.
lanes?
Where are our flying cars that we were
Yeah.
promised back in 1971?
Well, when I
or
went to the World's
1960s?
Fair, it was in New York. I think it was 1964 out in Queens, right next to Shea Stadium where the Mets played, and that's where they had the phones that you can speak to people and see them.
Nice.
Like FaceTime and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
And then of course
That never came to fruition at all, except for FaceTime.
well, yeah, but that was it jumped. I mean,
But there was never a telephone at home that you had a TV screen on that you would dial and go, "Hey Joe, what's going on?" Like on Blade Runner or something like that. That was really never a thing. It was not until
why haven't they
FaceTime.
come up with that though? Where
I was saying
because
this,
everything's cell phone now.
I was going to say the same thing. Is when I went to the museum in the 80s to Smithsonian, they had phones with a camera on the front of the phone. You pick up the thing, and there was a picture of your friend on the other side in the museum. It was like, why was that technology so hard? Why did it not actually... I mean, eventually now it's there, but not in the 80s or 90s. Did we ever have a telephone with that you had a camera?
Well, think about this. If I was at the World Fair in the 60s and they were showing us these things, why weren't they then made?
If they had it,
Why did it take 30 years later to have cell
To have
phones and all
FaceTime?
that? And FaceTime
People.
even... Well, FaceTime didn't even...
Who was it, like
When was FaceTime?
GE or was it...
5 years ago? 4 years ago? I don't remember.
Yeah, probably about 5 or 6 years ago from the iPhone. Yeah, it took a long time.
There's a conspiracy here that these things waited
It's the
so
oil-
long.
Whenever something like that happens, it's the oil companies. That's usually what it boils
You're
down to,
welcome.
oil companies. He was standing a minute ago. This is the world's largest pig that ever existed in the world. He looks like he's about 3 of us.
Is he really? He's nothing else.
No, but he's gigantic. The first time I came out here, he had a water dish and he busted it so the water kept dripping, and he was laying in a big mud puddle. Like he made his own mud puddle right here. And so he was just happy as pig and slop, really.
Yeah, well,
He made his own mud thing.
Now we know where this saying came from.
Yeah, so he's not in slop, so I don't think he's as happy right now. But his
He's comfortable.
poop has a nice fragrance, though.
He's very dirty. If I had a vacuum, I'd like to clean him and wash him.
You want to wash that pig?
Stuff freaks me out.
I'm going to wash that pig right out of my hair. I don't think
Yeah, I guess they learn him in school.
this time. Oh, they even put a guy in this
Just
one,
freaked
too.
me out.
There's a Mr. Green Jeans is in there.
So you remember Mr. Green Jeans from Captain
Oh, yeah. I wonder if this is a double. See, the ones I've always seen have 2 holes. Does that mean you actually had 2 people? Or did you have a number 1 and number 2 hole? That's
a good
the question.
My guess is it's a number 1 and number
Number
2.
2.
My problem is, it's always been a problem. I don't remember. Is one is a
P.
pee and 2 is a poop. Okay.
Because 2 is twice as heavy as 1.
You asked me this in 10 minutes. I forget.
So this is the Pine Level Trail. A lot of times in the summer this gets swamped because it's so low out here. So you can't even, I think that's why they had to build the boardwalk.
By
Because
the way,
they
if you see any cattle on the trails, yield.
must yield to cattle. Did it say thanks at the bottom?
Really?
I think it said thanks. Yield to cattle, thanks?
Nah.
No?
I'm on a nature boy, so this is, again, when I
Nature
talk
boy.
about spooky type stuff. You know, what kind of animals
Do you
are
get
roaming.
anxiety?
No, I wouldn't say anxiety, but I'm just very conscious of my surroundings.
Like
now.
if you just
I'm viewing. And you could see, again, some of the destruction from, I guess, from Hurricane Irma. Some of the trees are down here. Like, I wouldn't walk around this at night. Once it gets dark, because every little sound would freak me out. Or crocodiles or anything that can eat me. So maybe you can help me with that.
you're not a fan of being eaten.
No, I don't like being eaten.
That's what you're trying to.
I like to eat, but I don't like to be eaten. Yes. I mean, I assume I wouldn't.
So
the
your
idea of something eating me is not.
Your motto is eat, don't be eaten.
Good. Yes, I would concur that.
That's
would
your
be a good
motto.
for me. Yeah. Again, wouldn't want to be out here at night alone.
Yeah, I don't. That wouldn't be my favorite place to hang out. But they do camping trips. They do
They
do camping trips out here.
They have camping trips out here.
But it's not here. I think it's on the other side where there's a drier side.
So places you can camp out, bring a tent.
Yeah, they have like certain event nights, but it isn't like weekly. But I was just thinking. I just heard a mosquito go by.
You heard a mosquito.
You know how you can hear them
You have
buzzing.
sensitive.
I have good ears. Well, it was right by my ear.
And then, yeah, I guess you could hear it.
Like usually they're so small you don't necessarily see them unless there's a whole cloud. So this is your basic marsh, which is basically saying that this is a low-lying area, and when it starts to be raining season, you'll get like a little swamp, a mini swamp. But right now it's fairly dry.
It is. We have not had much rain.
There's a couple little creeks that run through here. And they actually have otters out here too. The lady told me like when the otters are having babies that you can walk out there and you can see them splish splashing, I guess.
Otters. And I would say this is really nice.
This,
Picturesque.
every time I see this, I think if you could camp on this would be like something cool, right?
Well,
If you could-
but this here, yeah.
If you could camp on top of the thing, it's like a Robinson Crusoe treehouse kind of.
It's called the Selby Tower. Appreciation of
It's called the Selby
major
Tower.
contribution by the William G. Selby and Marie Selby Foundation.
A long way to get a two-shot. You were just talking about how quiet it is out here, and there's a chance to unwind.
Oh, serenity. Peaceful. You can think.
I don't think you know what quiet is until you're actually in quiet, and then you go, wow, this is really quiet out here.
Mm-hmm. Just you can hear them chirping.
With the exception of the
sounds.
cows.
And there they are out there. You can hear them. Boy, they're loud. Because that's got to be probably 400 yards away.
What do you
maybe
think they're
500
saying?
yards.
What do you think they're saying?
Actually, probably not. What do they say?
What are the cows talking about?
When are we going to be able to speak in human tones?
When will we evolve to that point? There's actually an upper level right here, which gives you an even better view of what we're looking at, which is kind of just a big marsh. It's got I don't know what that stuff is. It's long grasses. It's marsh grasses, I think, is what they call it. Some
It's just a marsh.
sometimes they have these cattails. That's what we used to call them. And on the ends of the things, you get these brown, like hot dog looking brown
I know what
things.
you're talking about.
And it's
they
kind of like
kinda
velvet.
Flake, right? They kind of flake.
Yeah, if you put your nail
Yeah.
down on them, it'll sort of puff out, and it's basically the seeds, and it's almost like cotton. And if you take and put like lighter fluid on it or something like that, it's like a torch. Like you can just cut it off. And we used to do that as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
My dad showed us. He dumped it in some kerosene and lit it on fire, and it was like a really cool torch. And we were like,
Exactly what you're talking about.
as a kid, you think fire is the greatest thing that was ever invented.
Now, let's say they built a golf course around the marsh and everything. I have friends that are so ball whores that they would hit the ball into that and probably go look for it when you know it's impossible to find it.
That's what a ball whore is.
Yeah.
If you hit the ball out in
Well,
there.
that's my terminology. Me, I give it like a 20-second look, and then I say, okay, I just drop another ball.
But it'd be
And by the way,
impossible.
when you play golf and you drop a ball and you tell somebody you're dropping, it's not cheating. Because cheating is when you do something without telling somebody.
Okay, you like do it in mystery.
So I passed that. I said, guys, I'm putting my ball over here. All right, well, you got to take a stroke. No, I told you I'm doing it, so it's not cheating. So it's just a mulligan or whatever you want to call it.
Do you play with people that are so serious about that they get all up
Nah,
the panties in a
for
bunch?
the most part, my friends and I, we just go out there and have fun.
It looks very black. You see, you see right here, there's something in that thicket.
I see it, but it
It's
could be
dark.
a stump. It could be a tree stump.
But it looks like it would be like a black bear or something. I don't know. I don't know why that stood out to me. And the reason I bring that up is, do you think that there's any possibility that Bigfoot is real, or the skunk ape, or any of that
Do I
stuff?
think that Bigfoot is real?
Is there any possibility that that's a real thing? Because it would be really cool if
I
it was
guess
right there.
Saskatchewan is also a Sasquatch. Or
Saskatchewan, where
Sasquatch was a kind of like a Bigfoot thing. I will tell you this, I certainly, even though I've never encountered one, I do believe in aliens. I think we've had them here on Earth.
is there any chance that there's a link between Sasquatch and aliens, like the
Well,
Sasquatch is
that's
an
why I
alien?
brought it up. You never know. Maybe.
But it looks like a really black shape over
Yeah,
there.
I think it's just a stump. A tree stump.
We'll go over there and check it out.
I'm
And
not
I'll stay
going
here
in-
and film it.
No. Now, if I had
I'll
some
stay
friends
here and I'll cover you from here.
if I had my golf ball whore friends and I hit a golf ball in there, they'd go in there and get it. We'd find it out.
No doubt. Thanks for joining me and Jake out at
Oh, hi. Yeah. Yeah.
the Crowley Nature Center. Yeah. So we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Any last words?
What did we learn today? That out in the boonies east of Sarasota downtown is a lot of, I guess, history that we'll never know truly what transpired here.
Where's the boonies?
The boonies, the boondocks.
This right here?
This is the boonies.
We'll see you later. Thanks for liking and subscribing. We'll see you later.
See you guys.